Hello YouTube. Just wanted to make a little quick review of this knife, which I find absolutely fantastic. You see it here disassembled because I've just disassembled it, and as many of you guys can probably recognize already, it is the Benchmade Mini Loco. And I've seen a couple of reviews on that knife, and I know many of the reviewers, not many, but some of the reviewers, they were actually questioning the price. And there was one YouTuber that said that this was something like $195. I don't know the MSRP. Maybe that was $230, something like that. I'm talking dollars here now, of course. So people question why should this knife here cost so much more than the other Benchmade knives. Well, this is of course just my point of view here, because I really mean that this knife here is really worth $195, and I'll try to explain why here, because there are some details here that is very easy to not pay attention to those details, which actually cost a lot of money in machining, in finishing, in blah blah blah. So I really love the knife, of course. It's just a perfect EDC knife, but I just want to explain my point of view why I think this knife is really worth the $195. And I'll start with some small stuffs here. First of all, and it's not many knives that you see that on, but if you pay close attention here, this is the stop pin that's supposed to go into this, let me see if I can get it to focus here, which is supposed to go into that liner there. Some of you guys already now saw that there is a little D shape in there. And this one here too has a D shape. Not many knife will you find a D shape on the stop pin like that. And that is kind of a thing that I really love about it, because it's so easy to unscrew both torques from both sides, because the stop pin there is actually in its position. Because of the D shape, it will never move out of position, like you guys that has done a lot of disassemblies know about. When you try to unscrew the one torques on the one side there, of course, if you're starting to try to unscrew the other one there, the stop pin will start to twist immediately, and you need to hold it or you need to tighten it from this side. Next thing, you will find that the standoffs here or the spacers here have a similar thing. Here we are with the spacers, and here comes my next point. First of all, here is a separate spacer, which is also machined D-shaped. I don't know if you guys can see that here. I don't know if it's focusing. Yeah. So that's actually D-shaped too. And then we have a D-shaped standoff pin here. So all this additional machining, not because they could have cheaped out and made this one round inside. Here is a D shape as well. So you really need to find the D shape there for this one to fit inside of this one. And when you go to the next step, whoops, to fit it inside the steel liner here, there is also a D shape in there as well, as you guys can see. So here goes that, and there goes the spacer. So it's absolutely beautiful machining in my point of view. This is really how you're supposed to do it. And then there is some other details here too. Look at the size of this. It's only a Torx 8 inside there, but look at the dimension on this pivot screw there. And here's the pivot pin. And look at the absolutely beautiful machining on the pivot pin and the pivot screw. And the size there, dimensioned of course. So, and then You have a little barrel spacer in the back there as well, and that is actually absolutely beautiful machined. And I was kind of wondering if this one was either, it's actually chamfered off inside there, as you can see on the barrel spacer there. So on the inside they've chamfered it on, and I was a little bit unsure if it was the same thing as on the Spyderco lanyard holes, because this is a lanyard hole and it's kind of a barrel spacer that serves as a lanyard hole. I was a little bit unsure if it was pressed on, that it was kind of a little edge around there that kind of kept the liners together. No. This is machined beautifully to 100% fitment. So all these things here, kind of, in my mind, they really defend the price of, makes the price of 195 a price that, in my mind, with all that machining and all that beautiful stuff, you can just see here on the G10 there too. It is so nice machining. I know that some guys complain about this cutoff at the end there for the lanyard hole. I think that's actually a beautiful design feature. And look at the milling here. Fantastic milling that they chamfered and rounded off. And it's just a beautiful knife. One of my favorite Benchmades. I have 7 different Benchmades. So I have the 940 and the Griptilian, I have a turret, I have some Benchmades, I have a Presidio too. So of course I haven't checked out all the Benchmade in the market, but this here is absolutely one of my favorites, especially in terms of the machining. Yes, so, and as I promised you guys, this is a little disassembly video as well, because I kind of found my own way of assembling this knife, because everybody, of course, struggles with the axis lock and everything to get the pivot pin to pass through both washers and the blade, and then holding back the axis lock and blah blah blah. So I have a little fix for that. Not really fix, I would not be as cocky as that to say it's a fix, but in my mind it's a little bit easier to do it that way. Part of it I borrowed from a YouTuber called Skimen Ruslan. That's a Ukrainian YouTuber that is a knife fixer, and he also got one of the Ganso knives named after him. So what I noticed, what he did, I will show you. So I will not take credit for his little tip, but I have a little thing on my own too that I will want to try to show you guys. So here you can see it completely disassembled, and I know that Nick Shabazz and all the big YouTubers, they of course say that you don't need to do all this stuff. Yeah, I'm aware of that. An axis lock can be maintained much easier than this. My thing is that I really like to take them apart. I'm so old school that I'm always putting ballistol on my liners and everything. So many of you guys will just laugh. Oh, that smells horrible. Why do you use that ballistol? Well, if it works, don't change a winning theme, as they say. So I really like the ballistol. So I'm always putting a little bit of ballistol on my liners. So there's a thin coat of ballistol on everything here. So yeah, that was just a little sidetrack from the assembly part here. And I will try to show you guys how I do it. This is of course my way of doing it, not the only way of doing it, not the world's best way of doing it, but I think that my way of doing this is actually a little bit smart, because for me it's less fiddling. So let's go, guys. So what I do first, because there is some things with an axis lock, and especially axis locks with, I'll just bring this out as an example, where you can see the stop pin here. That doesn't come out of the liner there, so it's kind of fixed behind the liner. So the problem with all these stop pins, barrel spacers, all that stuff, is that needs to go on immediately. And of course you need one of the omega springs. This one, you can see it here, guys. One of the omega springs also needs to go on. Yeah. Cut the talking here and let's get to business. So what I do first then is I start off with putting this little spacer here. I put that on there. So this is kind of a puzzle because I want to puzzle it together. On this particular knife, we don't really need to mind these because as you can see here now, if I put that there, it will just drop through. So, but on knives that they don't drop through, of course you need to put these on first. What I really need to put on is of course the lanyard hole or the barrel spacer, or yeah, I don't know what you guys prefer, like this. So this is my start here. And then I take the second liner and I place that of course in position there. What I do next is like this. I take my axis lock, as you can see here, because that also needs to go in now, because there's a huge problem starting with that later. So what I'm doing, I'm just holding the liners together like that. And as you can see here, I hooked off the omega spring, as you can see. The omega spring, in my mind, the easiest way to both take it off and put it on is like this. You just use it as a hook. I don't know if the camera focuses here. But what I do, I just use it as a hook like this. Because when you use it as a hook like this, you really get it seated good around the axis lock. Then I, of course, put on this side of the omega spring. So now this side is actually starting to take form here. What I need now is another pair of, the first pair of scales. So this is my starting point here. So what I do next now, of course this is a little bit special because this is the Loco. So of course if it's another knife where the barrel spacers or spacer or standoffs or whatever needs to be put in first, then you have to do that of course. What I do here now is just situate the spacers. So of course I want to line up these spacers here. And as you can see too, it really needs to be lined up because these here, these are deformed spacers. So that means that it's a little bit fiddly to get it really in good position there. When I got it in position, I will take this here, this standoff here, standoff screw. And of course, I just want to fiddle it down like that. Now you can see it's seated down there. What you can do now already is do a little smart thing. I'm just going to leave the knife here for now because I really like blue Loctites. Nothing else but blue. Of course, no red Loctite because then it's so hard to take it apart again. So I really like to use a little bit of blue on this, not any excessive amount, but just a little tiny drop at the end there. Because what that does for me here now, it actually starts to secure the scale on this side. So of course you saw that that fell out on the other side there, so I just needed to get the thread started here. Oops. There, the scale is a little bit off here. I'll try it again here now. There we go. So now what I do is actually don't tighten it hard, just so it's kind of, because that helps me hold this scale on top of the liner. Okay, that's the first standoff. Now let's get to the second standoff. Somebody calling me, I don't know who, but yeah, they stopped there. So let's go to the second standoff here now. Same procedure. It's a little bit fiddly with this knife here because of this solution here. I love it because it really gives a good probably my wife that's calling, but I'm busy. So here we have the standoff, and then of course it's just to get that down there and then try to position it so it will drop down. It looks nice actually, so a little push there now. Maybe that will do the trick. There we go. So that's it. So now same procedure again. We will take one of the screws here for the standoff. Little drop of Loctite on the end there, like that, so it will stay. Of course you need to hold on the back part here now, so the screw doesn't go out. Of course, just put it in here like this and then start the threads. Don't over tighten it, just so it sits flush, not even snug, it's just flush. So what you see here now, that I got a fairly good package. So this doesn't make it very fiddly at all, because now this is not 100% secured package, but very secure because of the access lock holding everything together here. Because that is, with that little rim that's sitting there, is holding everything together. So next step now is to do the same procedure as I did on the other one. I take the access lock, the omega spring, sorry, and I just use it as a hook. Very easy to get it back on again. And as you guys saw, I will take one at a time. Because now you can see this is a little package. What I should have done, I like to take a little ballast tool on the access lock. I don't know if it's really necessary, but I will do it on this one too. Over oiling, I know many of you guys maybe will comment on that. Okay guys, so what I need now is another set of scales. So here we go. Just put the top scale on there, like that. And now, and many of you guys may notice that I didn't put a screw in the stop in there, because that's not necessary, because that's D-shaped on both sides, so that will be held in on this particular knife. If that was round, or if it was going through the scales, that was a little bit over on the Loctite, I would have put in one immediately. So now I'll just, to make it easy for myself, I'll just put it on this side here, because then I will hold that scale a little bit in position. That's one. That's number two. So to do this as this procedure here, I, for my part, found out that it makes it so easy, and it doesn't, because it can be very fiddly if you put on both omega springs. So that is kind of my clue here, to assemble the one liner with scales on and leave and one omega spring at a time. That is my trick here, that I kind of found out myself that works the best for me. So no cross threading, so be careful that you really feel that the Torx screw is seated on the right thread, because if you start stripping this, then you have a really big problem. I have a tendency to over on the Loctite, so I'll try to restrain myself a little bit with the Loctite. So what you see here now is a complete package with the axis lock working 100%. These screws are not 100% tightened yet. The reason why is because I want the blade to be centered, so therefore I kind of want to tighten the pivot screw first, and then I re-tighten these. If I see the blade is then centered, I just tighten this at the end there. Okay, here comes the Skimen Ruslan trick that I saw him do on YouTube, and that is the second part. Because what I've seen many people do is they I'll just make this on that side and that on that side. Yeah, because I just want to get these on the same side that they were on. I don't know if it really matters, but that's just me. I'm just a little bit picky with stuff like that. So this is the trick that I saw Skim and Ruslan do, and I really loved it. So, first of all, here are the phosphor bronze washers. Of course, I wanna give it a little dab of, a little dab inside there too. A little dab of Ballistol, and put this serves as kind of a glue. So here comes the point that I really like. I just wanna hold this there, and I just wanna put a little dab on here too, like that. So here comes the way to do it that I find it very easy. What he does is, this is a D shape as well. Many pivot pins are D-shaped, and you can see the D shape inside of here as well, I guess. So what he does is like this. He puts it inside so it doesn't go above the liner. Let's see if it's easier on that one. That was a little bit easier. Let's see here, maybe I was a little bit tight on the... I'll loosen here a little bit, just to make my life easier with when I'm seating this one. So, as you can see here now, you can actually see that it's sitting flush or under the liner. So I very carefully hold it with my finger under there. And then it's so easy with only the one washer. Then it's more room inside here too. And then I hold the blade upwards, so I get the most amount of room under for that washer. So that means that I only need now to concentrate on that one washer. So what I do, it's so easy to then put it inside. You can just position. And if you can see inside there now, it's so easy to kind of position both the blade and the washer. And of course, as you guys know, you have to pull a little bit on the axis lock to get it where it's supposed to go. And then I position everything. Take a look inside there, how it looks. You can see the washer is not completely cooperating. So, oh, sorry. Oops. Hear the click there? That's the washer. So now I know that the washer is seated, and you saw what happened there. Everything just came up. So what I do then, I push this a little bit back so that I know that I'm under the surface of the blade. And then very easy. Of course, I want a little dab of oil on this one. I find this way much easier than putting both washers in at the same time. Because what you can do here now is just put the washer on top like this. And you see how easy it is to push inside there. So I don't want to use this actually, because I don't want to oil down the pivot pin, because I am supposed to have Loctite there. So here I'm very carefully just positioning, pulling back on the axis lock, giving light pressure under, and then you can actually move the blade a little bit too. So here I put light pressure on the washer. So there is something that's not cooperating. There it is. So I'm just pushing the washer away, and there we go. Assembled. Very nice way of doing it. So of course now, only thing to do now, change bit, Torx 8, Torx 6 in the body screws. Look at the beefy pivot screw there. I love it. I love it. This is Benchmade quality. And of course, over Loctiting as I always do. So now, very easy. Just position this in. Go backwards so you find the right thread. There is the right thread. Now, tighten, tighten, tighten till it's perfect. I don't want to over tighten it immediately. I just want to feel the action. Yeah, that's tight already. Because this Benchmade, it's a little bit touchy on the pivot. So it doesn't like too much. So no blade play, no vertical, no horizontal. Absolutely beautiful. And the action is fantastic on this knife also. So that's so far. Let's look at the blade centering. What do you guys think? That is just absolutely perfect blade centering. It's dead on. So now I'm happy with that. No blade play, no nothing. So what I do then